Everybody, so just got done watching 2001's Prince Charming, starring Sean Maguire, Christina Applegate, Martin Short, Billy Connolly and Bernadette Peters. I've seen this a number of times before, but it has been a few years. This actually is an import DVD, because at the time that I got it a few years ago, it was impossible to find this movie on DVD. It's the tale. Now, through this series, we've had a number of movies where I've had to say, oh, this is the most a tale as old as time. Where movies have told stories that are completely unoriginal, but tries to do it in their own way. This story has been told so many times. Jack the Lad Prince, back in ye olde times, who sleeps with damsels in distress, etc. He and his squire get turned into frogs, and 500 years later, the prince gets kissed, in frog form, and he gets made into human, and to stop, he and his squire get turned back into humans, and to break the curse, he has to, marry the woman who kissed him, and, like I say, in the space of, I think, 5 nights, he has to marry the woman that's kissed him and find true love and stuff like that. And, of course, he falls for somebody else, and and it's, like I say, it's completely, this tale has been told so many times, it's ridiculous. But this one is really good, which sounds really silly because I think it's like a TV movie or something, but yeah, it's just, although it's telling the same story, it really does not bring anything new to the table on that score. The pace is good, the acting's really well done. I mean, I saw it on TV, I think at the time that it was released, and my sister was a big fan because she was a fan of Sean Maguire at the time, and then I became a fan because I enjoyed Billy Connolly and then the music of Bernadette Peters. So it was kind of me and my sister, this was a movie that we kind of discovered together. Yeah, it's, I can't really, there is nothing I would really complain about this movie because, like I say, the pacing's really good considering. The music, particularly at the beginning, is a bit naff. It sounds like somebody brought their old Casio keyboard into the the little kid Casio into the studio and just decided to play a couple of ditties. It's kind of that tacky. But for the most part, the rest of the music, I didn't even really register it. I only registered it during the olden times scenes at the very beginning. There's not really much I can say about this movie, so I will have to apologise. This will be kind of bare bones, because it's just fun. It's enjoyable, and I don't really, there's enough, I mean, it's not perfect, but that doesn't matter. It's a good lot, and there's so many, there's a good number of lines in this where they kind of, although this is a kids movie, you do think it gets a little close to the mark with, like, adult humour. And I mean, certainly at the beginning, there's a scene where Sean Maguire's Prince John has sex with this woman that he saved up against a bell in a tower, and it gets more, like, rampant, and it was just like, okay, and you see him, like, her dress drops, and you see, like, her bare legs and that, and then he lifts her up, and as an adult, I totally know what he's doing, but it's so weird, it's like, wow, I don't know if I'd like my kids seeing that, But there's some lines that really genuinely made me laugh. Martin Short I always feel bad for, because he seems to get sucked into these kind of movies where he's playing like, I mean, he's playing the daft kind of squire in this, but the genuinely hearted kind of guy who kind of gets strung along by this, you know, this prince that he's supposed to be serving. But there's a good line in this where, oh, that is my one problem with this movie. Really tiny nitpick. So 500 years pass with them as frogs, and they're at this lake, and then they show this kid turning up at the castle where they've kind of been hanging out since they got turned. And they show this kid who picks up these frogs. This is in England. He picks up the frogs, and he somehow, even thinking pre 9/11, this would not happen. Somehow he manages to get these two large frogs through customs, through everything at the airport, and gets them flown over to the US. And I'm just like, that would not happen. There's no way that would happen, for a number of reasons. But that was my main nitpick. But the reason why I remembered that is because there's a line where this woman in America, she's like, I totally don't buy your accents, especially your phony accents, especially yours, and she points to Martin Short's character, which is hilarious. My only other really big nitpick is the computer graphic generated frog designs. They're a little, they look a bit off. They're so badly added on top of the scenery. But you get, because of some of the mannerisms and that, and because of how silly they are, you kind of get into it. So again, much like the music, at the start you're like, wow, that's really tacky, that's really shit. And then actually you just get into the flow of it and stuff. But the other thing that did confuse me is, so when they get like, they're first get to America, they get saved by Christina Applegate's character, Kate, who then the prince falls for. And she saves him, and he's talking to her, and she doesn't understand him. So you're assuming that all she hears, much like with a lot of these cartoon animal human things, that maybe she's just hearing like ribbiting. And yet when he gets changed back into a frog later, he talks and she completely understands him. And I wasn't clear on why that was, and it's not explained in that, and I felt like it was rushed because of the end of the movie, obviously. And like I say, this is only an hour and 25 minutes long, so I guess they're trying to keep within the constraints of a children's movie length film. But it did feel a bit rushed at the end. But otherwise, this is a really enjoyable film, and if you've got kids, this is definitely one, if you get a chance, to show to them. But otherwise, if you like fairy tale movies, if you like a good laugh, if you enjoy Bernadette Peters, Billy Connolly doesn't really have much of a role in this, so if you're looking for him to be the jokester in this, he's not. Any of the lines fall on like Martin Short and the woman that his character Rodney falls for, and Bernadette Peters. There's one line where John says about not wanting to deflower Margot, which is Bernadette Peters' character, and she's like, oh, it's okay, I've been deflowered, just a few petals here and there. And I was just giggling. They're not like intentionally laugh out loud lines, but they're little things that just make you giggle, and it's a good laugh. So honestly, if you do get the chance, if you like light-hearted kind of capers, adventures, and even if you've seen a lot of this type of movie, give this one a chance, because it is underrated. It's easily, I don't think it gets the attention it deserves. And it just is worth checking out. I think it's only, I assume it's a U, if not a PG, because like I say, import, so no age certificate on this. But yeah, that's today's movie, Prince Charming. We'll be back tomorrow, but for now, this is Sketch, signing out.